Hello, and welcome to this critical analysis. On April 12, 2026, NASA confirmed an astonishing event in Space One with only a 0.0001% chance of naturally occurring. This event involves the interstellar object known as 3I Atlas, a fast-moving visitor from outside our solar system. However, it's not the object's mere journey that captivates us, but rather its behavior and actions right now as I speak to you. Just 6 hours ago, the James Webb Space Telescope detected something unexpected, a chemical signature emanating directly from 3I Atlas's tail. This discovery defies our established models of astrobiology and chemical composition. Imagine this: an object zooming through the cold, desolate vacuum of space, more than 240 million kilometers away from Earth. Typically, a comet's coma contains basic ices, carbon monoxide, and traces of organic compounds. However, 3I Atlas is breaking the rules. Right now, it is releasing massive clouds of highly complex alcohol molecules into space: ethanol, methanol, and isopropanol. The object is essentially fermenting space gas in real time. These findings are staggering. Such complex molecular structures would require extreme heat, intense pressure, and a powerful chemical catalyst to form. We are observing alcohol molecules in space that would normally need a controlled environment to exist. For comparison, think of a massive laboratory operating in deep space under extreme conditions, cold, empty, and without any external power source. Yet, we are witnessing something like this on a cosmic scale spanning millions of kilometers. The spectroscopic readings are unambiguous. The chemical concentrations are off the charts. In all my years studying cosmology, I have never encountered a reading quite like this. To generate such vast quantities of alcohol molecules naturally, the mathematical probability is roughly 1 in 4.7 billion. And yet, it's happening before our very eyes. The surrounding thermodynamic environment is baffling too. The space around 3I Atlas is near absolute zero, which should completely freeze out any chemical reactions of such complexity. Normally, this environment would prevent heavy carbon bonds from breaking and reforming. However, 3I Atlas is not following the rules of chemistry as we know them. Imagine this picture: a deep freeze laboratory where complex distillation processes are occurring within a frozen environment without any visible power source. Now, multiply this by a massive cosmic scale. That is exactly what the data from NASA's instruments are showing us. We are standing at the edge of something truly extraordinary. If these molecules are naturally forming, we may have to rewrite our entire understanding of interstellar chemistry. However, if these molecules aren't forming naturally, it suggests that something far more complex is happening with 3I Atlas, something entirely unprecedented in human history. But what's even more mind-boggling is that this is just the beginning of the mystery. This is merely the first anomaly we've detected. Hold on to your seat, because there is much more to come. As we move forward with this mystery, it's essential to understand exactly what 3I Atlas is and how it got here. Officially discovered on August 14, 2025, 3I Atlas is the third confirmed interstellar object to ever pass through our solar system. Its predecessor, Oumuamua, and its sibling, Borisov, were relatively inert, rocky visitors, mainly composed of ice and dust. But 3I Atlas is different. It is active, dynamic, and highly volatile in ways we never expected. 3I Atlas entered our solar system with an incredibly steep trajectory, inclined at an angle of 87.63 degrees relative to the ecliptic plane. Its journey through the solar system is not the random path of a typical comet, but rather a calculated passage, one that has raised far more questions than answers. It carries with it a dense, hypervolatile outer crust, unlike any comet we've cataloged before. What sets 3I Atlas apart from the thousands of known comets is not just its composition, but the sheer level of activity we are observing. Unlike the typical comet that simply sheds dust and ice as it nears the Sun, 3I Atlas is doing something entirely unprecedented. It is actively synthesizing complex compounds in real time. We're not just seeing a comet outgassing simple carbon compounds. We're seeing the formation of complex, heavy molecules, specifically alcohols, being emitted in the form of enormous clouds. For months, astronomers assumed the object was simply outgassing trapped primordial carbon, much like a normal comet. They expected the standard sublimation process driven by solar radiation, but the data soon began to suggest something far more intriguing and far more complex was at play. When 3I Atlas crossed the orbit of Mars, something changed. Its outgassing profile didn't just increase in intensity, it fundamentally altered, and its molecular signature became radically different. This was no longer a simple comet. Now, let's dive into the specifics of the discovery. On April 2, 2026, at exactly 3:14 UTC, NASA's James Webb Space Telescope made the first major detection. The data returned was nothing short of shocking. The telescope's sensitive near-spec instrument pointed directly at the trailing tail of 3I Atlas, and what it detected was truly mind-blowing. Dense clouds of gaseous ethanol, yes, the exact same complex alcohol that is consumed here on Earth. But here's the kicker. The amount of ethanol detected was enormous, approximately 33 billion tons. To put that in perspective, that's an unfathomable amount of ethanol for any object in space, let alone one that's millions of kilometers away. The first thought from scientists was that it had to be a calibration error, perhaps a glitch in the system. But the data was definitive, and the readings were clear. The ethanol concentrations were 10,000 times higher than any comet ever observed in the past 4 million years of continuous observation. This wasn't a minor error. This was real, verified data. To further verify these findings, NASA initiated a rapid emergency protocol, and the results were undeniable. 3 independent sources, using different methodologies, all confirmed the same discovery. The European Space Agency's Gaia spacecraft confirmed the chemical absorption lines from 3I Atlas's tail. The Atacama Large Millimeter Submillimeter Array, ALMA, in Chile cross-referenced the microwave emissions, and again the same result emerged. 3 independent observatories, all arriving at the same conclusion. This wasn't an anomaly or an error, it was a verified scientific reality. Now, let's pause and take a moment to truly understand the significance of this. The presence of such high concentrations of ethanol in the tail of 3I Atlas raises some serious questions. We know that chemical reactions, as complex as the synthesis of ethanol, require extremely high temperatures and intense pressures. Yet, the space around 3I Atlas is near absolute zero, an environment that should freeze out any chemical reactions, let alone complex ones like alcohol synthesis. Imagine a scenario where a complex distillation process is happening inside a deep freeze laboratory without any external heat source to drive it. It's the equivalent of watching a chemical reaction occur in an environment that is far too cold to sustain it. This is the mystery that scientists are facing right now. From a physics standpoint, this is where things get truly baffling. For ethanol to form in such immense quantities, it requires a sustained, localized heat source of at least 300 Kelvin. But the surrounding vacuum of space is as cold as it gets functionally near absolute zero. How can these molecules form under such cold, low-pressure conditions? The simple answer is they shouldn't. But somehow, 3I Atlas is defying all known laws of chemistry and physics. This anomaly isn't just changing the way we look at comets, it's fundamentally challenging the entire field of astrobiology and interstellar chemistry. How could an object that's been traveling through the depths of space for millions of years with no visible energy source produce complex alcohols in such vast quantities? And this is just the beginning of the mystery. The data is continuing to pour in, and what we are uncovering could reshape our entire understanding of how objects in deep space behave. So, what's really going on with 3I Atlas? And where will this trail of anomalies take us? As we continue exploring this enigmatic object, 3I Atlas is revealing layers of complexity that we are only beginning to grasp. We've already discussed the first anomaly, the massive ethanol clouds trailing behind it. But that was just the start. Since that first major detection on April 2, 2026, astronomers have documented a series of increasingly bizarre and impossible events, each one more baffling than the last. On April 6, 2026, anomaly number 2 appeared. Using the Atacama Large Millimeter, Submillimeter Array, ALMA, scientists detected not just simple ethanol, but also highly complex branched-chain alcohols, including isopropanol. The probability of forming such molecules naturally in deep space is only 0.17%. This makes it highly unlikely that we're seeing a random chemical process at play. In fact, the formation of isopropanol in the quantities we're observing would normally require either biological processes or a highly controlled synthetic environment, two things that should not exist in the vacuum of space. This is where things start to get really interesting. The very presence of these complex alcohols in a cometary object so far from Earth is raising some uncomfortable questions. If the alcohol is not the result of a biological or synthetic process, then what's causing it? And more importantly, how is it being synthesized in the extreme cold of interstellar space? But that's not the end of the story. On April 9, 2026, Anomaly 3 made its appearance. The Hubble Space Telescope, with its Wide Field Camera 3, recorded something truly startling, a rhythmic pulsation in the outgassing process of 3I Atlas. The alcohol clouds were not being expelled randomly into space. Instead, they were being released in precisely timed bursts every 47 minutes. This is something no comet has ever done before. This regular, rhythmic expulsion of complex alcohols is not just unusual, it's physically impossible for a standard comet. Comets typically outgas in a much more erratic manner as they approach the sun, releasing gases and dust in response to solar radiation. But 3I Atlas is behaving like a highly engineered system, emitting gases at specific intervals as if it were a machine operating with precision. This discovery has sent shockwaves through the scientific community. For the first time, we are observing a comet, or what we thought was a comet, that seems to be operating with mechanical precision. It's as if the object is intentionally expelling heavy organic solvents at exactly timed intervals, something that would require incredibly advanced technology to accomplish. When scientists at NASA first reviewed the data, they were initially skeptical. They thought the rhythmic nature of the expulsion might be a fluke or an artifact of the observational instruments. But as more data came in, it became clear this was not a mistake. It wasn't random noise. The alcohol was being expelled in perfectly timed bursts, and the timing was consistent down to the minute. So, what does this mean? If 3I Atlas is expelling these complex alcohols in regular intervals, it's suggesting that there is some kind of mechanism at work inside the object. The behavior we're observing doesn't fit the profile of a typical comet. This is something far more sophisticated. Some have even speculated that we may be witnessing the work of an automated system, an engineered process that is expelling heavy organic compounds as part of some larger, unknown function. This is where the theories start to become even more far-fetched. Are we looking at a massive cosmic machine? Could it be that 3I Atlas is not just a rock hurtling through space, but rather a vessel of sorts, a sort of interstellar factory that's synthesizing complex molecules for a purpose? If so, what kind of purpose could that be? The more we learn about 3I Atlas, the more it begins to look like something far beyond our current understanding of cosmic phenomena. We are no longer just dealing with a comet, we're dealing with a dynamic, active system that seems to be manufacturing complex chemicals with a level of precision and complexity that should be impossible in the cold vacuum of space. But that's not all. The data keeps coming in, and the mysteries surrounding 3I Atlas continue to multiply. Every new anomaly is another piece of the puzzle, and each one leads us closer to a fundamental shift in our understanding of the universe. Now, let's step back for a moment and think about what all of this means. If 3I Atlas is not just a comet, if it is something else entirely, then we are witnessing a profound event in human history. We may be on the cusp of discovering something far more advanced, far more intelligent than anything we've encountered before. But before we jump to conclusions, there's still much more to learn. Stay tuned, because what happens next could change everything we know about the cosmos. As we delve deeper into the mysteries surrounding 3I Atlas, it becomes increasingly clear that what we are observing is far beyond the ordinary. By now, we've seen an array of anomalies: massive alcohol clouds, complex organic molecules forming in the void of space, and rhythmic expulsions of gases with precision that defy natural processes. But perhaps the most baffling aspect of this object lies in the very physics that should govern its existence. To understand just how impossible this is, we need to look closely at how complex molecules typically form in deep space. In the cold vacuum of the cosmos, the process of molecule formation is an agonizingly slow and random event. Cosmic dust grains act as tiny scaffolding where basic atoms like carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen gather and slowly form bonds. Over millions of years, cosmic radiation bombards these grains, fusing simple organic compounds together. This process is inefficient, chaotic, and random. But here's the thing: 3I Atlas is bypassing this natural timeline altogether. Instead of slowly building up complex molecules over millions of years, this object is generating billions of tons of heavy alcohols in just a matter of days. How is that possible? The physics behind this process simply don't add up. The heavy alcohol molecules we're seeing are created by the continuous breaking and reforming of carbon bonds, something that, under normal circumstances, requires an immense amount of energy. In the case of 3I Atlas, the vacuum of space surrounding the object is too cold, near absolute zero, to support these kinds of chemical reactions. There is no natural thermal engine inside a standard comet capable of sustaining this kind of high-energy catalytic synthesis. Think of it this way. Imagine a massive bonfire spontaneously igniting at the bottom of a frozen, dark ocean. That's the equivalent of what we're witnessing with 3I Atlas. The energy output needed to sustain the production of complex alcohols simply does not exist in the frozen, low-pressure environment of a cometary nucleus. It should be impossible. Yet, here we are. 3I Atlas is proving that our understanding of chemistry and physics in the cold vacuum of space is deeply flawed. Every assumption we had about how comets behave is being shattered right before our eyes. The creation of these complex molecules in such vast quantities and at such a rapid pace requires a force or mechanism we simply cannot explain with current models of astrophysics. But it gets even more bizarre. On April 10th, 2026, at exactly 14:22 UTC, NASA's Stratospheric Observatory for Infrared Astronomy, SOFIA, detected a completely unprecedented data point within the alcohol clouds surrounding 3I Atlas. The instrument successfully mapped the exact geometric structure of the alcohol molecules venting from the object's core. In chemistry, molecules can exist in two mirror image forms, left-handed and right-handed. These mirror image forms are known as chirality. In a naturally occurring chemical process, the production of these chiral molecules is always random, and we expect to see a 50/50 split of left-handed and right-handed molecules. This is a fundamental rule of chemistry. But what Sophia found was something that defied this rule entirely. The alcohol molecules venting from 3I Atlas were almost entirely left-handed, 99.8% to be exact. The probability of such an imbalance occurring in a random chemical reaction is 0.00001%. To put that into perspective, the odds of this happening are akin to winning the global lottery every single day for 1,000 years straight. This discovery is nothing short of revolutionary. It suggests that something incredibly specific is at work inside 3I Atlas, something that is sorting these molecules in a highly controlled, intelligent manner. In fact, this is the first time we've ever observed such a high level of chiral purity in a cosmic object. And the fact that it's happening in deep space, where the laws of chemistry should be working against it, is mind-boggling. What could possibly be responsible for this highly organized molecular sorting? The obvious conclusion is that 3I Atlas is not a natural object at all. It's far too precise, far too efficient, and far too organized to be the product of a random cosmic process. Could we be witnessing the work of a highly advanced technology or even an engineered biological system operating within this interstellar visitor? This question is not just theoretical. The director of astrobiology at MIT, a leader in the field, has publicly stated that this level of molecular sorting requires an active, intelligent filtration mechanism. This is a major paradigm shift in the scientific community, and it is forcing researchers to rethink everything we know about life, chemistry, and the potential for advanced technology in the cosmos. The implications of this discovery are profound. If 3I Atlas is indeed an intelligently engineered object, whether biological or mechanical, it would be the first piece of evidence we have of non-human engineering in our solar system. The sheer precision required to produce these chiral molecules in such vast quantities, and the fact that it is happening inside a cold, distant object challenges everything we've believed about the limits of life and technology in space. And yet, this is still only the beginning. We've uncovered the first glimpses of a much larger mystery, one that could fundamentally alter our understanding of the universe and our place within it. If you're as fascinated by this discovery as I am, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more in-depth explorations into the mysteries of space. Share this video with your fellow space enthusiasts, and let's keep this conversation going. Comment below with your thoughts on 3I Atlas and what you think might be behind this mind-bending anomaly. Stay tuned, because the journey to uncover the truth has only just begun.